Oh yeah, I've got it big and popped up. We've got this bad boy, this monster chunk. It's still 300 carats, just over 300 carats, and we're just going to attack it with the Nova points a bit. Kev's decided that we're not going to slice this up, which is not too surprising now, because it is looking quite good. Now there is this one really bad blemish in the face of it that I'm not a huge fan of. I was hoping when we were looking at this, you can see that black line. We were hoping that was just black potch, but it looks like it's a iron oxide because that just sprays the squid ink everywhere, which is not great. I thought it was going to be a worse stone than this anyway, so I think we are already winning. Can't complain too much at all. Got people from Canada, we got people from Switzerland, we got people from Dimbula. This is the same monkeypox piece. This is the big one. This was the big monkeypox. If I flip it over, you'll see. There you go. Classic monkeypox, as the blacklighters are calling it. So yeah, there's definitely some hidden green on that side, which we will be doing in probably the next video. I was going to do it before this live stream, but decided we'd hold off, mainly because I'm suffering from jet lag. There's Kev. And look, there's this extra third bar right in the middle. If I just get my ugly face off the screen, here we go. This right here, it doesn't look like much, but then again, neither did this side. It doesn't look like much, but that's a nice multicolored bar just in here. And they all seem pretty divided, which is unfortunate. This is definitely going to snap off. Maybe we'll do that in the live stream. That'll be exciting. We'll just peel that off and then we'll be able to have a look here. I do wish that it was rubbed a bit less, this stone, because if this side was rubbed a little bit less, I think it'll actually face better from the other side. So I would have sliced down this kind of crack line just here where my thumb is. And then this, if it had a backing on it still, I reckon would have been something else. But we can only deal with what we've got, and what we've got is this massive face here, and possibly a green version of that on the other side. It's actually not... Oh, it's because I've got a whole heap of lights on it. But it's actually not presenting itself as well as it does in person at the moment, which is a bit sad. It played really nice on video. Why is there separation in the layers? Not sure. I wish I knew a bit more geology. I know this one here is definitely an iron oxide layer. Don't know why it's in there or how it's formed. But this over here, it's just a really cracked piece of opal. You can see here where the parts have already chunked off, just like this part over here is going to chunk off. And you can see that it's just got a lot of inclusions and stuff in it. And I don't actually know what this rotting opal look is from. Not entirely sure what the inclusions are in this one. It's a very unusual piece. The blacklighters have hit a very strange pocket of opal in this one, and I think they've got a lot of it. That's why they were basically throwing it out. It is a really nice stone though. Yeah, the edges are crumbly. So the edges, you can see even around here where I've messed around a little bit, the edges do have a lot of tendency to fracture. So even though it is a seam opal, I'm not trimming it all the way back. And that's why I did the channeling technique on the front here. It's kind of a really good way to have a look without having a look at the whole edge and making sure you've got a nice clean bar. But it's come along pretty well, and there will be another video for this side as well. We will try to unveil something, though I do worry about it crumbling. And I think even if it does crumble and split along this kind of layer all the way around the stone, this multicolor bar, you really can't see it. It's not showing itself well. But that multicolor bar is probably as good, if not better, than this side here. See if there's a spot somewhere. The thing is that it peters out on this edge though. It does peter out on this edge. So even if this turns out to be a dud, we could just grind through it and hit this. I might be able to reveal that. Might have a sneak peek. But yeah, today I just want to work on this one a bit and just hang out, have a chat. I'll dry it and I'll show you what it looks like dry without any water on it. Give it a quick dry. There we go. That's good enough. So that's what it looks like after the sintered diamond. There's this really nasty crack over in this corner. Camera doesn't want to focus because it's all hazy. Right there you can see there's a massive crack, and it could go all the way across here and might end up with like a it's not really an oval, but you could cut a teardrop out of that pear shape, because you can see the crack just keeps on going. It looks like this one got bashed pretty hard when it was getting mined. But yeah, that's it dry, fully fogged, and we just want it to look a little bit more like this while it's dry. And you can see the surface is still pretty uneven. It's hard to get a stone this large flat with a Dremel, but we are going to flatten it out a little bit more. The Black Nova does some wonderful work if you let it. Yeah, the red stands out no matter what I do. There are some angles where it does go quite green. If you go on a really acute angle, trying to watch how it's facing on the camera. I know there is an angle where it goes much more green, blue than red. But yeah, the red is always there. And it's not a colour that we complain about seeing, so I'm quite happy with that. Quite happy with that indeed. Morning, Lisa. Now, I'll just be using this standard stylo Dremel, even though it's not ideal. It's just a lot quieter than my big boy. And actually, before we get started, have a look. So that looks like a tiny Nova point. That is a large. And this is the same. Same age, same usage. So you see that you will wear through your 280 grit Black Novas so much quicker than you do the other sizes. Even the 600 is pretty well intact. It also does cop a fair bit of wear, but you can see the 280 does a lot of work. So I might actually have to think about stocking the 280 on its own, just so people can replace the 280s from their 4-pack kit, because they do get chewed up. But yeah, alright, I'm going to reposition myself. I think the dog just knocked on the door a bit. Now, I can't really see the camera. This setup's not ideal, but it'll work. It will work. What can you do with a stone this size? You could actually set it. There are a few pretty famous opals that are set in gold that are similar kind of size. Absolutely huge pieces. I don't know who the hell would wear them. I don't think anyone wears them. I think they just set it as a pendant looking thing, but they don't actually use it as a pendant, because that would be like a boat anchor around your neck. Anything over, I don't know, 100 carats is pretty big. Once you get to 300, you're kind of really pushing the limits of the human neck, I think, because that's a chunk. That is heavy. We'll just deal with a couple quick questions before I start spinning. I don't actually know if I'm fully zoomed in. I reckon I can. I don't think this stone fits if I fully zoom in. Oh, it's not too bad. I'll zoom out a bit though. How much would an opal like this sell for? So Kev and I had a talk about it, and as is, probably not a hell of a lot, but I think the person that would buy it is someone that's going to cut this up into a lot of little stones, and there's probably some. I mean, every stone that you cut out of this is a couple $100. So you'd still be able to sell this for, I mean, well over 1,000. There's probably actually some areas like in here, because it's not fully revealed. That's what we'll do with the Nova. Over here, it doesn't come up on camera all that well, but there's a really nice section kind of running along that cracked edge. So where the crack is actually a really nice stone. It's probably got some of the best pattern in it. And remember, we've still left a thin film of potch over this entire face. This could be like a $10,000 stone once you've cut it up into little bits and cabbed it all, which is most likely what someone would do if they didn't want to keep it in one piece. And a lot of stones this size do get cut up, unfortunately, because, well, like we were talking about before, you've got to have a use for them, and jewelers don't set something 300 carats. They can set a lot of 50 carat stones, but 300 carats is just excessive. So unfortunately this one would be destined to get sliced up. Belt buckle. Actually, that's a fair point. Belt buckle would be pretty cool. It's probably the perfect size for it too. Alright, let's get this spinning. Oh, Matt asked how much it was. It's not actually my stone, it's Kev's stone. And they were basically throwing it out, so it was only a couple $100. So, we'll get this bad boy spinning. I've got this on the lowest. Oh no, not quite the lowest. The lowest speed on this one's a little bit too slow for me. Then I just got to make sure that I aim it so that it sprays the water away from you guys on the camera. Let's see what happens to the squid ink if I just... Yeah, not too bad. We're not disturbing the squid ink too much with the 280 Nova. Now the idea at the moment with the 280, because I'm trying to smoothen out the face as well as take off that last layer of potch, we want to be using big strokes. You don't want to sit there and do these like little circles or anything, because that'll promote a pretty uneven surface. You want to be going for big strokes, and you'll hear a little bit of hammering, and that's not the burr getting out of position like I showed in a few videos. That's pretty well stable. The hammering is just from that surface. So if I can get it to show, just like this. So I'm just trying to skim over those peaks. It helps to go with the peak and not across the peak, but because of this one, it's kind of in every direction. So we're going to have a little bit of bouncy before we get to a nice smooth kind of state. But that's alright. You just don't want to hammer the opal too hard. It's a bit of a fragile, sensitive stone. I like Nancy's idea of using this for self-defense. You could do some serious damage with a stone this size. Slider set into 4,000. Is it 4,600 subscribers on the channel now? I feel like just the other day I saw it and it was not even 4.5 yet. I don't tend to check that number very often. I don't know, maybe I should. It's not hugely important though. You can see here, I don't know if that's coming up on the camera as well, but even just over this area, just coming down that extra tiny fraction of a millimeter onto the colour is actually getting it much more foily. The only problem is that this is such a massive stone, we'll probably only get to do the 280 grit today. But that's alright. See how far we get in an hour or so. This area here is an area where it's still really, really thick layer of potch over the colour. Paperweight, paperweight's good. I thought this was just going to be a paperweight when we started. Honestly, Kev and I are talking about this. We thought if we can get, like, even if it was a 50% yield would have been a shock. A stone this size, like even a 10% yield, we just wanted a small section of colour. And there's still a lot of inclusions and stuff, but you can kind of turn a blind eye to a lot of inclusions when you've got 300 carats worth of colour. And we haven't looked at the other side yet. See here, it's still really cloudy in there. Really cloudy. Should have used warm water. I got overconfident, it didn't feel that cold when I got up. And I don't know if you can hear it on the microphone now, but it's much... the hammering's already slowed down a lot. And if we have a look at the glare, it's still pretty uneven, but it is getting better. It is getting better already. And so is the colour. I'm surprised how good the colour's coming up already. I'm not expecting a huge improvement. Having said that, there are some really foily parts around. And I do hope that I can work out some of these inclusions as well. How they get in there, I'm not entirely sure, but those little black spots I would like to get rid of, because they're a long way away from that bar of iron oxide. And the ones that are a long way away, especially in this area here, I cleaned up a lot when I did the first carving of this. So I'd like to get a lot more of them gone. Especially in this area. This area's got some really nice colour and pattern in it. God, I forget how quiet this thing is. When I'm not actually grinding the stone, I forget that it's actually on if I just hold it up over here. But yeah. Oh, does the sound come through before the video? Sounds like a little bit of lag. A few inclusions is always fine when it's a massive stone. If it's a small stone, you don't want a single inclusion. Bolo tie. I've only ever met one person that wore a bolo tie, and at the time I actually had to look it up to work out what the hell he was wearing. It was at a conference. It was actually, I think he was in the FBI. But yeah, bolo tie. Weird thing. Weird. A boulder of Coober Pedy. This is actually, when I first saw this material on the Blacklighters live auction, I thought it was going to be some kind of Andamuka. Like, if you look at this, that looks a lot like kind of the higher grade of Andamuka Matrix with this potch layer on top. I'm hoping it turns out a bit more clear-cut crystal Coober Pedy in the end, but at the moment, with this tiny potch layer over, it actually looks like Andamuka. Looks like you treat that black and it comes through insane. And maybe it does. I reckon this probably could be treated. But I don't know if I'd be willing to do that to this stone. It's a little bit good for that. I'm just hoping the last of this potch comes off and it comes through really good. Really strong. Is that black spot really deep? Well, you can't be certain, but I did play with it a bit, and that is the lowest point that I've carved, and it does look like it does look like it goes into this. So right there, you can see that same layer, and I tested this and just rubbed the edge of it. You can see just here, and that just shot the same squid ink. So I think it is just a metal oxide layer between these layers. It seems to be very sturdy, so it's not gonna shift and move on us, but I do think the spot meets up with that, in which case it goes halfway through the stone, which is very unfortunate. I was very hopeful because there were some small spots, especially over in this area, and they cleared out. There's still a couple more that I'm hoping clear out. But yeah, this one's tunneling through to the center. It looks like it's tunneling right through to the center. Which is quite unfortunate, really. By far the biggest inclusion. Conference with the FBI. Yeah, it was a defense, counterterrorism related conference. I used to work in defense science for my PhD. It was good times. I don't really miss the PhD though. It's a bit of a, not a stressful time, but it is a little bit of a demanding time when you go for your doctorate in anything, I think. Man, these sintered diamond marks really left a deep score in some of these areas, deeper than I'd normally expect, especially just here. I guess I was trying to work out some of these inclusions. But yeah, we're gonna wear this 280 right down. Which is alright, I've got more. I'm about to list a whole heap of stock up on the website too, if any of you guys are the ones on the waiting list. I think it'll sell out almost immediately because I don't have hundreds of burrs. Which is a bit of a nervous time. So I want to list it today, get a whole heap sold, and then Monday I can just post everything at once. But I'm not a huge fan of the whole sales thing. It's something I'm trying to adjust to. A torch doesn't really get far on this one because of how big and thick it is. You can't really shoot into the angles all that well. Maybe if I had a narrower beam or a laser, it might be a bit better. But yeah, torch really didn't say much. Didn't reveal anywhere near as much as I thought it would. Other than it's a very dense boy. Very dense. Opal would peel away. Nah, the iron oxide is very well bonded with the rest of the opal. So it's not going to do like a delaminate or anything like that. Kind of like you'd expect to see on like gypsum or I guess quartz sometimes, where the two materials don't actually bond. But it's like an inclusion. It's properly in there. It ain't going anywhere. Though it would have been a really good guideline to slice if the stone wasn't so big. Once you get to this size, getting a trim saw to slice down a tiny line like that is pretty tough. The best you could do is slice down this multicolored bar. But that's a bit of a rough ass. I think most trim saws, unless they're really stable, are going to cause problems because of how crumbly all of this is. And I do think I'll still pick this off here if I can get the angle right. See that massive crack? That entire corner here, I can like squeeze in and out. So this part here is really, really fractured hard. You can see the crack that goes through here. And it lines up with the crack that's on this side over here. So this stone copped a rough hit on the edge. And yeah, the green really wants to peel off. Which might be a good way to cheat and have a look at a tiny portion of the bar. How many ginger whiskers will clear up? I don't think many more than what I've already gotten out. Especially in this area here where they're really dark. They look like they go deep. You can actually see them cutting in and the angle that they cut in at. But you can always be hopeful. I'm just hoping most of the black dots clear up. A lot of them have worked out well. And also evening out the stone a bit will help us a lot. It makes it a lot easier to polish when it's more even. And you know, it's getting there. You could polish the surface like that pretty easily. There's no huge dips, apart from a few of the ones around the edge, like just here. That's actually quite good. It's definitely not flat lap style. Man, such a big stone. I think in a few future live streams, I'll just do some small stones and take them from start to finish. Because I can get a stone done pretty quickly if I'm not trying to do anything too fancy with it. But we'll just keep attacking this on from a few different angles. Good to see the squid ink isn't responsive to the Nova point. I was worried that that would start spraying everywhere. It's also got a different hardness to the opal itself, so I have to be kind of careful about wearing it too much compared to the surrounding area. Look at that, it's still so scuffed. Man, pretty sure I was using the 600 sintered diamond across this entire surface at one point. But yeah, if you want a nice flat surface, the key is movement. Definitely move in larger motions than you normally would. And I wouldn't go circles too much. Circles are not that ideal. Just good long sweeps. And you'll feel the stone slowly getting smoother. It's much easier on a small cab, of course, but this one we're gonna try to keep. I just want to see what it looks like when it's a little bit flatter. Because I'm sure this color bar dips and weaves. How much time you planned for this piece? I don't really plan. I'm just happy to see what the stone does. But this is, it's responding to the Novas much slower than I thought. I thought this was a softer opal, but it's behaving really hard, actually. So much like an Andamuka matrix. Even on camera, it behaves a bit like an Andamuka matrix. It's much better in person, but it really does look like matrix on screen. Not sure why. Maybe it's the live stream kind of rendering process is not as good as me using proper recorded footage, because the actual recording of this stone looked so much better. So much more impressive. If I have to go back to the sinteds to get rid of these black spots, it means I have to work them too far. These are all the ones that remain from the sinted, but we're properly in the colour now, so if I just chuck it underwater again, you can see this is actually on the colour. We've gone through that last little bit of potch on the surface, and now you're starting to get that foil colour, especially over in this corner where it's really nice. It's really solid in that corner. It's starting to look good in here as well. But yeah, unfortunately I reckon some of these little dots of iron oxide are actually tunnels going through to that black bar underneath. Which is a little bit of a pain. Yeah, like this one here. That one in the middle of the stone, that one definitely goes through. That one's dipping in. Same with this one here, I think. Feel those are going all the way through. So I might just focus a bit on area over here. There's still a bit of potch on this lower edge as well. Just feel like there's a really good stone in this top corner. Of course, right where the crack is. Yeah. Definitely looks better, but unfortunately, not all of this is going to come out, that is for sure. So the settings of this rotary tool, I'm actually not that sure. All it says is what the maximum is, which is 22,000. So I can't really tell. I'd have to actually measure it, which I could do at some point. I just need to know what the lowest setting is and then hope that it's fairly linear after that. I'd say we're going less than 10,000 RPM for sure. Probably closer to 8,000. I don't know if it feels faster or slower than my... No, that's slower. Maybe I'm going a bit too slow still. Though the Novas, it's always better to go a bit slower. Yeah, that's less than 8. Just comparing it to how it feels on my other rotary tool that goes at about 8,000 most of the time. Alright, I don't want to go too much further in some of these areas, because now we're actually in the colour, and I don't know how long the colour lasts in this before it gets to fully diseased opal. This area I can work a lot lower though. So the colour bar does dip quite a bit. Yeah, the blacklighters rubbed back a few parts of this stuff and they kept saying the same thing. It was borderline gem and then it just turned out to be an absolute mess and a nightmare of inclusions. But I think they probably could have spent a bit more time and rubbed it all back. But then again, I think they're mining a lot more than they're cutting anyway, so if you can just offload it in rough or semi-rubbed state, you're doing pretty well. I could never sell rough opal. Opal rubs, yeah, because at least then you know what you're selling. But when it's in its full rough state, it's a tough sell for me. It's like the giveaways. When I'm picking out stones for the giveaways, I just try not to think about it too much. Imagine that, you give away something that cuts an absolute gem. You'd be a weird mix of happy and sad. Though I've got too much around to cut anyway. I'm falling way behind on stones. If you want a really flat surface, I always go with sandpaper. Sandpaper on something hard, a hard backing, and then just move it around in a figure eight and you'll get a nice flat. It's even not a bad way to start a cab as well, because then you can just do the doming by Dremel. The hardest thing is always getting flat surfaces. And then the larger the stone, the harder it is. But really, the only time you want a perfect surface is when you're doing a cab anyway. With carvings, it's alright. You can go uneven. Most of the time, you're going uneven intentionally to get rid of some areas. Yeah, that area over there looks really nice. Ah, but not on camera. You guys don't get the green and gold section. I need to find a better angle. Let me turn this off for a second and see if I can show you this. Don't know why it's not wanting to. I can see it from here, so you guys should be able to see it from, I don't know, here? Oh, almost. No. Wow. I'll have to work out why that is. I mean, I guess the light angle changes. In here is a really nice green and gold with red. Like a broad pattern, but it's not coming up. Oh, it tries to sometimes. Yeah, it's just not coming up. Because see, that crack there, I reckon Kevin's up not even needing to slice that, maybe just crack it off. If you can get a slice started behind it, you should just be able to pry that part off. And you'll end up with a nice... You could probably just cut an oval out of that, actually. So yeah, that's what that section there is for. And we don't need to take this to a full polish, because I still think Kev will end up slicing some of this apart. I mean, it's cool as a massive stone, but I think if they get rid of this part here, and then maybe slice down here, and then just stencil on a few stones, should end up with 4 or 5 really, really nice, really big stones. But yeah, I'd almost be interested in trying to treat a small section of this. But it's too nice to trim off a tiny edge. Maybe some of these crack corners here, I might just pinch some of those off because they are coming off. Maybe not. I really do want to just try treating a small chunk. Like even just one of these slivers would work. I might be able to find a way to get that off without doing too much damage. But yeah, I think the biggest part is this one here. It's like it's hard to explain. It's kind of like a wobbly tooth if anyone remembers losing teeth. I guess we're all too old. But there's this really, and it's spongy too. Like there's air trapped in that crack. Might be able to squeeze the water out of it actually. That part there, I think I might just pry off. You know what? I'm kind of bored of working on this face. So what do you say we try to reveal this section here? I'll change the burrs out and we'll just see what we can get behind this really ugly area because I think it's going to come through really well as the rain starts hammering down. Where are my burrs? Where they always are. So I think for that we'll just go straight for where's my other 600? I'm missing a burr. Oh, it's in my actual rotary tool. Yeah, I think we'll just go to this 600 and we will just carefully take it back. 600 might be too weak. 80 is definitely going to be too... Oh, we'll give it a light rub with the 80 grit. I mean, 80 grit's a very low grit, but it is a pretty gentle burr. It's hard to kind of explain unless you've used sintered diamond tools. But because of the metal, it does actually treat the stone quite well. It's just that there's big chunks of diamond in it. So, the 80 grit, and we'll just have a quick little look. It's a really gentle rotary tool anyway. Oh yeah, this part will be a bit loud. Welcome to the dentist. Oh, it's just starting. Yeah, whatever this stuff is, it is quite feral. And you can see here that this section that's been exposed, that's actually that multicolor bar that I was talking about. So just here I'm starting to see a bit of that color coming through. You've just got to be pretty gentle. You saw there a little bit of squid ink. So yeah, those black inclusions are all through the stone. That's the classic monkeypox for you. Now, before we get the full reveal, let's zoom right in. Right in. And I'm falling behind on comments. Nothing wrong with an LED light and a cell phone camera. That's how the channel started. I haven't gone back and looked at the first video in a while. I should do that. Find it so cringe and so funny at the same time. I had no equipment for that one. I mean, I still don't know what I'm doing, but at least I've got some slightly better equipment. God, there's a real rusty inclusion in there. It's just starting to come through though. See how crumbly some of this section is? I just want to have a look at this multicolored bar, and then we might just have a quick little look at the green as well. But that will be a proper video because it would take way too long to do now. Way too long. Give it a dunk. Oh, it's not playing nice. It's not playing nice at all. Hit some of that squid ink. Yeah, it's definitely not black opal potch. Definitely not. I could actually analyze it in the lab just to make sure it is iron oxide, but I'm pretty sure. Let's just have a better look. This is not what cutting Coober Pedy feels like. This is a strange rock. Starting to see that colour coming through, at least in that small section there. It comes through as everywhere being fairly green on camera, but there's actually a lot of blue as well. Maybe this multicolour bar is not as good as I thought. I don't think this is a fossil piece. Just trying to investigate that crack area. I wouldn't worry about being too cringy on video. I mean, I never try to watch my videos again after uploading them. The editing process is a bit rough because you have to hear yourself talking forever. But sometimes you catch some really good stuff on camera. There's some early cuts that I did that I really wish I had recorded. Mainly just to learn from. Having a real life replay function is incredibly useful sometimes. Let's just get rid of some of this crumbly bit. Yeah, alright, that colour bar is not quite as good as I thought it would be. Maybe just in this section. I can't judge the entire thing by that section, but it's definitely not what I thought it was. Not as good as the other side. Now this section here that's already been rubbed, if I go just to the side of it, let's have a quick look and see. Quick look and see if it's going to be worth doing more on it, or whether we do really take it to the trim saw and try to do the most difficult slice of my life. And just really target that area. I need to wear down the tip end of this burr anyway. It's getting a little bit misshapen. You know what? This stylo is doing a tremendous job for sintered diamond. Oh, that's actually looking like it's coming through okay. So just getting rid of that and linking it to the rest of that colour. Yeah, it's coming through. Ah, it's coming through really good. I can see myself needing to do a lot of work on this side now. This one I wouldn't even use a trenching technique either. I just work from the colour outwards and see if I can just keep linking it up. That's a shame. And just so that we've got, I don't know how long we've been going, but just so that we've got something exciting, I think I do have to get rid of this section. It's coming real loose, and it might give us an idea on the rest of this color bar, because I really want to check this color bar without actually grinding away all of this now that this is showing that it's, I mean, look at that, that's linking well, and that's proper foily blue. Comes through much more green on camera, but that's a really nice blue and green. So, this is tricky. This is tricky. I think no matter what, this is probably not, I don't know how this survived postage anyway, so let's do it and see. Alright, that's a pretty good explanation of why it was so loose. This is it's hard to describe, but it's crumbly like sand and rust. Like, even if I just wash this with my thumb, it's got some crumbly bits. At least the massive chunk is actually holding together. This could be a stone. This could be an actual stone. Yeah, this actually could be a stone in here. Most of the crumbly bits are gone. Of course, it's going to be a little bit fragile. There's a second crack in there, which is annoying. But let's just see what this has got in it. I'm going to switch to the 600. Or maybe I should just have a quick look at this section here first. If I can just give this a bit of a wash. So that explains why it's so destabilized between those two shelves. Those two bars of opal. It's got some kind of... It's probably also an iron oxide. Let me just remove some of that real crumbly stuff with the 80 grit before we switch it over to the 600. And we'll see what we find here, because this could be very interesting. And this is right on that, just that multicolored, well, just off the multicolored. Look at that, it does look like rust. Looks like just another iron oxide. It's not as loose and crumbly as I thought. See, this bar is nowhere near as exciting as I thought it would be. And I think I can see where the crack meets to the other side. Maybe not. The crack's all the way... Oh, it is all the way up here. So, the crack you can see goes through all 3 bars along that edge and then meets here. So this entire section here will come off if we're not careful. But at the same time, I really wanted to see more colour in that. Let's have a quick little look at this one. Oh, I can't do that with the 80. The 80's gonna hit it too hard, I think. I've got to just switch that over to the 600. Except now I can't remember where I put all my burrs. There they are. Trim saw. I don't have a trim saw at the moment. I just borrow a trim saw. And for this kind of stone, it'd have to be probably at least 10 inch. I don't think the 6 is going to do the trick. I think the stylo works. It's just, it's not the same as the other rotary tool. How do you manage not to get Dremel marks all through your piece? Well, that's just about going through the grits. So basically, all of these, by Dremel marks, I'm guessing you mean scratches. These will leave insane amounts of scratches. But by the time you get to like this kind of 1200 grit Nova, your scratches are basically gone. Here it's only a little bit of fog. That's what you should be aiming for. And then you hit it with the 3000 and the cerium oxide, and then yeah, no more Dremel marks. No more Dremel marks or scratches. And I'm just going to quickly wipe the glass because I can see that it's getting a little bit messy just here. We'll just clean a nice small little window. Now it looks foggy, but it's just the water. Alright, 600. 600. Ah, not that piece. That's the massive piece. Alright, so for this little shard, this is like cheating and working on the opposite side of that green-blue. Let's have a look if we can reveal this without it crumbling apart. Might be able to get a nice small stone for Kev just from this one. Or at least we can hope. It does have some colour. Got very uneven inclusions. It's got that weird crystally effect, like the original rough stone did. Let's have a look. Alright, this one is pretty deeply affected by the monkeypox. Let's see if we can work a lot of that out. Maybe it's just really iron-rich ground that all this is coming from. Just want to see this clean up. Coming along. Is the 6 and 10 inch blade the same widths? Oh, for the trim saw. So the width is another measurement completely. You can get this like the opal blades are paper thin. They're really flexible, so you want to push really slowly. Well, you don't even want to push. You just guide it as the blade cuts through. But yeah, typically they're a very thin blade. The same for like whatever diameter kind of measurement. They are very crazy looking blades. When I first saw one, I couldn't believe how thin it was. But then it makes sense because you don't want to lose too much stone. Let's see if I can get this really crumbly tip. Oh, there's no way that holds together. Yeah. There's not much colour in that tip end. It gets really thin in that section just there too. But let's have a look anyway. I mean, it's definitely got some colour, but I don't know, it's just not quite gem grey. This green nodule on it. I mean, there's definitely a stone in there. I think by the time we trim off a lot of this garbage here, get rid of those loose chunks just hanging on the side. Yeah, that's clearly an easy stone to be cut out of that. I'm just wondering whether these things in the middle, yeah, so another crack along here. Big crack along there, which seems to go diagonal and then come out here. So maybe one stone there and then two smaller stones over this side. Pretty nice green though. So that's what the underside of this top bar looks like. So if I wanted to get crazy and attack it with a trim saw, or maybe leave it for Kev to attack it with a trim saw, could maybe just cut along this kind of potch all the way around to try to reveal the underside of this. But I don't know if the underside is any better than the top. What if we compare them? Compare the pair. I think the top side is probably still better. This side here. Well, that means I've got a long carving video to record. Possibly today. Getting rid of all of this. And then we'll have a kind of two-tiered face on this one. Where we've got that foil green across here. I don't think it'll do much towards this edge. It'll be a bit of a fried egg. And then here we'll try to reveal this more, but it doesn't look that great, and that crack is really starting to scare me now. It's quite thick. I wish the rest of this would just peel off. But no, it reattaches itself again under there. Man, trying to work out how this stuff forms the way it does can do your head in sometimes. So yeah, in the end, it'll be a nice green section. Hopefully, I'll probably have to take this part off. It doesn't look like it's got anything. This foil colour seems to come to about here. So this section might have to come off, and then we'll have the second, well, the third bar, I guess. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, few little bonuses. Man, I knew when I first saw this stone on the live auction, before I knew Kev even had it, that it was going to be an interesting piece. All of this monkeypox stuff's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's going to make this side a really complicated carving. Multi-tiered. Should still be fun. Freeform wire wrapped stone. That's a lot of wire to hold this one. The little one, I guess. The little one, I guess, could be okay. I'm just really disappointed now with that multicolored bar. This stone is a roller coaster. I was certain it was going to be... I don't know why. I was certain. I saw something somewhere. I think it's just in here. Yeah, just in here. I mean, look at that. That looks much like the other bar. The one underneath. It's just crazy. I thought this would launch. Maybe I just need to get through this green. Maybe the green's throwing me off a bit. Because see, even here, there's definitely a multicolored red bar. Maybe just below the green. That'll be something I look at. But then again, this green does look pretty nice. The other way we can cheat, though, is looking at this section here. This section is basically where the green... It's basically the middle of this top bar. And you can see that it's still fairly inclusion heavy. So I don't know if that's going to go the whole way across the stone. It actually might mean that that's an angled bar. And I'll be taking this all the way down to meet down here. So that looks like it's got some kind of definition between the two bars. Oh, I don't know. I'm losing count. There's too many bars in this thing. I've lost my mind. I've lost my mind. This is a mental. This is a mental stone. Let's catch up with chat. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of sand. So this is a bit of a strange stone. It's not so much sand. It's just it's a metal oxide, I think. It looks very rusty, so an iron oxide. The only sand is really like over here, but I think the blacklighters have rubbed a lot of the sand out. There's a little bit of sand there, a little bit there, some in here. But honestly, this is not one of those sand shot pieces. This is one of those metal oxide shot pieces. And we just battle it and see what we can get. More of a picture stone. Definitely more of a picture stone. Is it possible to place pictures here? No, but yeah, go to the website, and the website you can do the pictures, videos, you can do anything. You can do anything. Now, does anyone know how long this has been going? I have no way to see it in my new setup, but let me just check, because I feel like I've been talking for way too long for someone that doesn't really talk much. Oh yeah, we've been going an hour. Well, I think we've done a solid look into much more than I thought. into Kev's stone here. If he's still with us, I think he can see where this is going, and I've got a lot of work ahead of me now. Because this side, I want to take back a little bit more, just because there's some areas like here where there's still potch. It's an uneven potch, so I have to remove some more potch in some areas, and I still want to work on a couple of inclusions. But this side, I think, it's got a lot of work. I've got a lot of work to do on this one. So after I go to another open house, I think I'll sit down and at least do this front section, and then try to work out how I'm going to meld it in with the back section. I've also got... Oh, actually, the next video that comes out will probably be the last of the Bellum Knights from Julian. But that's even trickier than this one, because it's not just a single fossil, it's a multi fossil. And I've just got to finish that one off as well. Man, got a lot of stones going.